This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers get to head to Detroit tomorrow. It's where they'll face the Lions on Thanksgiving in a matchup of two teams fighting for the NFC North and playoff positioning. Right now, Packers will be in at 7-3-1, while the Lions will be on the outside looking in at 6-4. Green Bay won the first matchup in Week 1 in a dominating effort. Packers haven't swept the season series since 2020. Kick on Thursday is at noon. Turn to the Badgers. They're going to face Minnesota on Saturday in the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. They've won 2 of 3 to get to 4-7 on the year. If they win to get to 5-7, there's an outside shot of them being invited to a bowl game if there's not enough 6-win teams to fill the slots. But Coach Luke Fickell had little interest in that aspect of this week.
What's most important is just saying, hey, all those kinds of things, they're just cloud your mind. Like, this is about one thing. It's about a rivalry. It's about an axe. It's about a history. And if by chance something happens after that, then we will be able to address that. But for right now, it's like, guys, don't worry about anything like that. Don't worry about what comes Sunday. Like, this is all about 5 days left of, being able to, this is the last guaranteed opportunities we have to be together, and let's make sure we do things the right way.
Minnesota favored by 1.5. Kick on Saturday is set for 2:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer. But did you know they also offer competitive home, auto, business, and life insurance? They make it convenient to bundle your insurance while saving you time and money. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs are headed on the road and doing so after losing a 5th straight game last night. This one to Portland. It has them at 8-10 on the season. Going to play a couple of NBA Cup games next at Miami and then at New York on Friday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Print.
I'm going, this is absolutely a must-win for the Lions. They haven't won 2 in a row now in 6 weeks. They've struggled against Philly to score, and this is after we make the big announcement that we're going to change coordinators. The head coach is going to call plays. They light it up against Washington, and then they fall back down to earth. So they struggled there. They struggled against the Giants. They lost to Green Bay at the start of the season. Didn't score very many points there either. They're 4-1 at home. They're currently 8th in playoffs. Obviously a must-win for them.
It's obviously not a must-win for the Lions. It is, however, a must-win for the brain trust of the Green Bay Packers. A story that we discussed 3 weeks ago, and then thanks to a couple unimpressive wins against unimpressive teams, it's gone by the wayside, which is, wait, are Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst on the hot seat? If they lose this game, Week 1, which is the high watermark of their season, feels like even more of an aberration, they then fall to that dreaded 8 seed trying to just sneak their way into the postseason. And if this Packers team misses the playoffs, all the local reporting seems to imply, if not outright say, Matt LaFleur might not be back next year. So it's a must-win for Matt LaFleur and his boss, Brian Gutekunst.
We enjoyed today. Very short week against a very good Lions team. So, obviously the prep is got to get started today, and everybody's trying to get their bodies back, get back healthy as quickly as possible. But short weeks are always tough.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
All right, that's a little bit of a longer cut than I like to play in the intro, but it's good. And that's where I want to begin. That was Eric Mangini and Nick Wright on First Things First this afternoon, talking about the stakes of the first Thanksgiving game Thursday, which is Packers-Lions. It's always a sports radio old reliable. I pull this out of the toolbox from time to time. It's like, what do we start with today? Well, we got a Packer game coming up. Is this game a must-win? 608-321-1670. No, I understand it's kind of a fun sports radio or sports television trope or topic. But I think it's important. I think this game is really, really important for the Packers. Will their season end if they lose this game? Obviously not. Will the Lions season end if they lose this game? No. So when we're talking about, is this a must win? I don't mean literally. So if you're crafting a text, you're preparing to call and you're taking this literally, please don't. That's not the point. I want to begin in our opening segment tonight just talking about the stakes of this game, Packers and Lions, because at first blush, it may not seem super important, even though it's a divisional game. It's December. It's nationally televised, but I think this game is a little bit more important maybe a lot of Packers fans are talking about. So that's where I want to begin. After this first segment, we're off and running. We got a loaded show. Mike Clemens is going to join us for about 10 minutes. For about 4:20 to 4:35. Then we will immediately go to Jesse Temple, who we normally talk to on Wednesdays, but he is, I don't remember what he said he was doing. It's a Thanksgiving week. I think he might be traveling or something. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. He's going to join us today instead, and we'll talk about that big Illinois win and what comes next with Minnesota this weekend. And then in hour number 2, we're going to be visited by our friend Bart Winkler, a little home and home today. I did his podcast earlier this afternoon, and I want to talk about the elements of being a Packers shareholder, because it's come quite a public battle on Twitter. And if you're not on Twitter, like, Grant, I don't care. Well, we'll talk Packers, but Bart is a fellow Packers shareholder, and I do always like talking about being a Packers owner with Bart. So he's going to join us in hour number 2 at 5:35. Plenty of your calls will be mixed throughout. We'll start those probably a little bit closer to 5 o'clock, just because I have a couple of guests here in the first hour, but the live stream up and running. You can comment on there. You can shoot in a text as well at 608-321-1670. Can't recommend enough that Wisco Sports Zone app. Very slick. And I will always plug, if you could, please, the YouTube channel. If you could just click that subscribe button, I would certainly appreciate it. It would help me out. So go all the way back to week 1 when the Packers beat the Lions. When they beat the Lions week 1, part of me, and I bet a lot of you, probably thought, well, there you go. You took care of the Lions in 2025. Because in my opinion, and I happen to think this opinion is correct. I don't think this is a novel opinion. I think this is just NFL logic. When you have other elite teams in your division, and the Lions have shown to be that. I mean, they've been the kings of the division. So certainly an elite competitor in the NFC North with the Packers. When you have an elite team in your division, I think the goal every year should be to win your home game, defend your home field, and if you can steal the road game, even better. But I think your job against elite division rivals is to just hold serve, win your home game, defend your home field. And then if you also win the away game, great. But if you take care of business at home, it's not required. You're not backing yourself into a corner to have to go on the road to win. Right? Because winning at Ford Field is not easy. You know, if you think about other divisions, the NFC West, right? For a long time with the Niners and the Seahawks, I bet those teams and those fan bases thought of their rivalry very similarly. Where it's like, well, it's going to be tough to beat Harbaugh twice a year. It's going to be tough to beat Pete Carroll twice a year. But in order to compete in the division, we at least got to win the home game. And then we'll try to steal the game on the road. And when the Packers won in week 1, I'm like, well, there we go. Now that Thanksgiving game isn't a must win, because you took care of business at home and you did what you needed to do. However, since week 1, the Packers have lost a couple of games that I didn't really expect them to lose. When they beat up on the Lions week 1 and beat up on the Commanders 4 days later, we started, okay, we have an idea of how good this team is, we think. Let's look ahead at their schedule. You should beat Cleveland. You should beat Dallas. You should beat Cincinnati. You should beat Arizona. We'll see with Pittsburgh. Didn't really know what they were going to amount to with Aaron Rodgers. You should beat Carolina, right? Just looking ahead. So you're thinking, you know, the team should, after those first 2 games, after seeing what they were capable of, we were thinking the Packers should start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-1, 6-1, 8-2. Like, they should really build a nice record cushion. They should really stack some wins, because, I mean, if you beat the Lions and the Commanders in a span of 4 days, you should have no problem with the Browns. The Panthers at home. But then the Packers lost to the Browns and they lost to the Panthers, which changes the calculus of the season a little bit. And then losing to the Eagles the way that they did. Now, the Eagles are an elite opponent, but that game hurts just because it was so winnable. You had so many opportunities. Well, now the calculus changes a little bit. Now, because you lost those ugly games to the Panthers and to the Browns especially, and I'll really circle those 2 because I think Dallas is a pretty good team. I think really highly of Dak Prescott and some of the talent that they have. They're treated as a little bit of a circus, and they're complicit in that. They, you know, Jerry Jones and some other members of the organization play into that. But you know what? Like, I'm a lot less bent out of shape about what happened in Dallas than I am Cleveland and Carolina. But because you lost to the Browns and the Panthers, now it's kind of on the Packers to steal another game here at some point, right? Now you got to maybe go on the road and beat Detroit. Now you have to maybe go beat Denver on the road. You have to beat Lamar Jackson at home, whereas if you just had taken care of some of the lesser opponents, you wouldn't be forced, your back wouldn't be up against the wall in a very tight division race right now. Currently, the Packers are second in the North. at 7-3-1, behind the Bears 8-3-1, but in front of the Lions at 7-4. It's that tie that's making up the difference. Because the Packers were unable to win those easy games, well, now you got to go win one of the harder ones. Whereas if you just held serve against, teams that are touchdown underdogs to you, you wouldn't have to do that. I really liked what Eric Mangini had to say in that opening soundbite, and I'll play it again towards the end of the show. It's 90 seconds long, so I'm not going to play it again. Sometimes I'll replay a cut in the first segment. I'm not going to do that. Don't look now, as we discussed with Ryan Wood last night, the Lions look gettable. I thought a really good point, a really good stat, or a really good anecdote that Eric Mangini mentioned is the Lions, since October 5th, which is now almost 2 months ago, they've not won 2 games in a row. They lost to the Chiefs, beat the Bucks, lost to the Vikings. Yeah, that Vikings team, J.J. McCarthy, beat the Commanders, then lost to the Eagles, then beat the Giants in overtime at home, which an interesting part of that opening monologue that I played from Nick Wright is said, well, the Packers have a couple of unimpressive wins over unimpressive opponents. I don't know. The Giants have led in just about every game. They've been right there. They played New York, or not New York, but they played Detroit within an inch of their life in their building. The Packers, again, unimpressive win over the Vikings. I don't know, man. I thought that game was just fine. In fact, of the entire NFL slate in week 1, the Packers had the second largest margin of victory. So I guess if that's not an impressive win, then maybe there are weeks in the NFL where nobody has an impressive win. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know. The Lions are gettable right now. The Lions have not won 2 games in a row since October 5th. Now, I haven't checked the spread. I assume the Lions are favored by 3.5, 2.5. Of course, is ESPN going to give it to me? No, probably not, because ESPN Bet doesn't exist anymore. So why would they put that up there? Great, thank you for the... but ESPN Analytics has Detroit with a 54% chance to win. So extrapolate that out, however you want to do. I guess I can click odds here. What do they have? The point spread. Where's the point spread? I have gambling rammed down my throat at every point, and I have to dig to find it. Yeah, 2.5 point favorites. Okay, Detroit. Detroit's favored in this game. They should win this game. But all of us would agree that the Lions seem gettable right now. Well, because, back to my original point, the Packers lost that game to Cleveland, lost that game to Carolina. It is now incumbent on them to win one of these games down the stretch that they probably wouldn't have had to win otherwise. An opportunity to get one of those wins is Thursday against a Lions team that's still very good, still very talented, but figuring some things out. I think winning both games against the Bears will be tricky. Right now, if I had to guess, I think the Packers will split with the Bears. I don't think the Bears are as good as their record says at 8-3, but the Bears do a lot of things very well. They don't turn the ball over. They force turnovers, and they run the ball. They're the perfect opponent to take the air out of the ball, limit possessions, and try to beat the Packers in the way that the Panthers did, or the Browns did to a lesser degree. I don't think it was intentional by the Browns. The Packers much more complicit in that loss than in others. But the Bears can play a style of football that should allow them to beat the Packers at least once. So I don't think the Packers are just going to waltz through 2 games against the Bears and win both of them like a lot of you, I think, seem to think. So you either got to sweep the Bears, which I think would be hard, or you got to win on Thanksgiving in Detroit, or you got to go to Denver. Like at some point in this next month and a half or so, the Packers are going to have to go get a really hard win that I wouldn't have anticipated them needing 2 months ago when they started 2-0 and looked really good. But now they have to. And I think it's more likely, I think it's an easier task for the Packers to win in Detroit Thursday than it would be to win in Denver. I actually think it's an easier task for the Packers to win in Detroit than it will be to sweep the Bears. I think it's more likely the Packers win on Thursday than it is they go 2-0 against the Bears. And again, I don't think the Bears are unbelievable top of the league contenders. I think they're good. They don't beat themselves for the most part. They've shown that they can be confident and play games right down to the stretch and steal games that maybe they don't deserve to win or haven't played well enough to win. And they run the ball and they force turnovers. That's a recipe to beat this Packers team. I think it's more likely that the Packers win in Detroit than it is they sweep the Bears. I think it's more likely that they win in Detroit than they go to Denver and win. They should be able to go to Minnesota and win, and they should be able to hold serve against Baltimore at home. Lamar Jackson really doesn't look like he's at the peak of his powers this season. He's been banged up. He's missed some time. So the Packers, in my opinion, to win this division, which is what it's going to take to get home playoff games, which I think is the only way that they can make a run. I think the Packers have a lane here to be a Super Bowl contender in the NFC, but it's a lane that's Going to have to involve a playoff game or two at Lambeau to allow that pass rush to get after a quarterback in a game that looks a lot like it did against the Vikings on Sunday. A game that allows them to run the ball with Josh Jacobs, who's hopefully getting healthier, and an offensive line, Sean Ryan, Anthony Belton, hopefully improving and getting a little bit better here and there. That's their lane to contention. And the only way they can get to that lane is by winning the division. And I think the only way that they win the division is to win in Detroit on Thursday, or sweep the Bears, or win in Denver. You got to do one of those three things. Again, because you peed away some great opportunities earlier in the year to get wins you should have had. And I think the most likely pelt that the Packers can put on the wall is winning on Thursday. I think this Lions team can be had. I think you can pressure him up the middle. You can expose Jahmyr Gibbs as a pass protector. That's something that Brian Flores and the Vikings did a really good job of. Hey, man, if you're going to put Jahmyr Gibbs out on the field and he's their win con, right? There's been plenty of games. You've watched the Lions recently, and I think maybe Sunday's a good example against the Giants. Certainly this was the case against the Eagles if you watch that game too. There's been a lot of these games where it's like, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is awesome. Are we sure the Lions are great at anything else? You know what I mean? Like, they're Jared Goff can play well and be good, and they have some great receivers, and I think they have some good players on defense. But when you watch them, it's like, man, Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of having to do everything. So what the Vikings did was, we're going to come into Detroit. We're going to pressure you right up the middle because your center isn't what he used to be. And we're going to force Jahmyr Gibbs to have to involve himself in pass protection. And he couldn't do it. And it caused massive problems for them in that game, including an increased snap percentage for David Montgomery, who's just not as dangerous. Again, if you can limit Jahmyr Gibbs or make him a little bit of a liability in pass protection, you can beat this Detroit team. Even at Ford Field, J.J. McCarthy did it a couple of weeks ago. If J.J. McCarthy can do it, this Packers team can definitely do it. Are you kidding me? All due respect, Vikings fans, to you and your quarterback, but come on, we watched that game on Sunday. To reiterate my point, and it's a little bit of a convoluted one, the step-by-step, this is a linear thought process here. If the Packers want to be Super Bowl contenders, they need a home playoff game to let that pass rush and their running game do the thing. In order to get a home playoff game, they need to win the division. And I think in order to win the division, they need to do one of three things. You need to win on Thanksgiving, you need to sweep the Bears, or you need to go to Detroit and win, or Denver and win, rather. Those are the three. You need to do one of those three things. And I think the most likely, I think the most achievable of those three things is actually going to Detroit and winning on Thursday. So you got to do it. So that is my framing. That is my thought process of saying, I think this is pretty close to a must-win game. Now, if the Packers go to Detroit and they lose 37-38 and they look awesome, but they just can't get the win, like, yeah, their season's not going to be over. But they make it significantly harder on themselves because I think sweeping the Bears is going to be tough and going to Denver is going to be really, really tough. I think they can go to Detroit and win. And for that reason, I kind of think they need to. Because the winnable games, the really gettable, easy games, the games that they'll be favored in are going to be fewer and farther between in this final month, which we knew when we looked at the schedule going into the year. And I think the most winnable, the most gettable opportunity in this, final 6 weeks or 5 weeks of the season is Thursday. And then if you go to Detroit, who just had to play an overtime battle on Sunday, they'll be depleted. Kirby Joseph isn't going to play. Then you get the mini bye, you get 10 days off before then hosting the Bears. You're set up pretty well. Now you could be, if this were to play out the way that I'm describing, you win in Detroit, you have a great opportunity to beat the Bears at home. I think splitting is probably the most likely outcome there. But then the Packers go from 7-3-1 to 9-3-1. You hand both the Lions and the Bears a loss. You get a nice 10-day rest. You're in a pretty good spot. Losing on Thanksgiving then makes things a lot more difficult. Now that game at home against the Bears is a must-win, and you're probably looking at a game in Denver that you need to win if you want to win the division. And again, the only way that this team can get to a Super Bowl, in my opinion, is by winning the division and getting a home playoff game or two. So that's the math. That's the calculus. And that's why I think Thursday, I know they won the game against Detroit at home. And when you're dealing with an elite divisional rival, I think it starts with winning your home game, just split. Normally, I think that's enough. But because you lost to the Browns and the Panthers this year, I don't think it's enough. I think they got to go get this win on Thursday. This is as close to a must-win as you'll get because it's going to define the next 5 weeks, which will define the division, which, in my opinion, will define really whether or not the Packers have a realistic chance to string multiple playoff wins together, which is the goal for this team and the way that it's been constructed. Mike Clemens is going to join us next. He had a chance to talk with the Packers players, including Micah Parsons. Jordan Love spoke earlier today as well. So we'll get the latest from Mike on the other side of this break. And Jesse Temple, not far behind. We'll talk Badgers with him at the bottom of the hour at 4:35. I'll get to your phone calls. It's just going to be a little bit, apologize, Text if you have anything that you want discussed with Mike or with Jesse, 608-321-1670. The live stream up and running as well. Mike Clemens joins us next, live up in Green Bay, thanks to the Bay Motel and Family Restaurant. 3 minutes. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It was kind of a weird game where our defense really had control of the football game. I've never called the same run so many times consecutively. It was like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but it was effective. And bottom line was, I just thought with the way our defense was playing, we just took the air out of the ball and said, go win it for us.
That's Matt LaFleur after the game on Sunday. Mike Clemens joining us now, and Mike picks the cuts. That was one of the things that I heard in the postgame press conference on Sunday. Like, yep, I want to dig that out. Matt LaFleur saying, I don't think I've ever called the play so many times in a row like that. It was kind of the strategy. We're just going to blunt force object our way to a fast win, get out of there, protect our quarterback who's banged up. And while in the moment it was frustrating, because I'm like, man, you could win this game 35-6. In the moment it was frustrating. In the big picture, not really the end of the world to get out of there with a division win and start to get ready for Thursday. Mike Clemens joining us now, the Bay Motel and Family Restaurant. Mike, maybe not the sexiest win, and I'm sure you hear from Packers fans, and you know they're very loud on Bill's show as well. But again, kind of a brass tacks win. I don't really have complaints about Sunday.
No, I don't, because listen, the defense is the star of the show now, and then particularly when you've got your quarterback with an AC joint sprain, essentially a separated left shoulder, and you've missed Tucker Kraft and Josh Jacobs is not in there. How can you find ways to make your defense win the game? Well, have possession, have longer possessions. And if Matt LaFleur, with players are telling you, man, he called that one running play into Emmanuel Wilson, I swear like 4 or 5 times in a row, just kept on running the same thing to the right-hand side. And my reply to that is, like I said to Bill the other day, there's a big statue out in front of the stadium here of a guy that used to run the power sweep until you could stop it, named Lombardi. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Make him stop it. So Anthony Belton, here's what's interesting is the game starts off and Bill said something to me, in the press box during the game, like before halftime. He goes, "Why is Belton in there? Did Jordan Morgan get hurt now?" I go, "No." I said, "Are they still doing that rotation thing?" And so Anthony Belton, we asked him after the game, could you believe that Matt LaFleur, who was playing right guard, that LaFleur kept on calling for the same running play over and over again against the Vikings?
Nah, I mean, it was working. I mean, he called him like, it's working. So I'm a big believer if it's working, why stop? I'm a big believer in that.
The defense probably knows what's coming.
But I mean, they might know it's coming, but it's still up to you to execute your job during that play.
So Anthony Belton kind of took over in the second half, Mike. Something I've noticed with Jordan Morgan, there wasn't a crazy difference between him and Sean Ryan, and I don't know that there's a crazy difference between him and Anthony Belton. Now, Belton's a year younger. Maybe he'll really settle into that role. I think he's a more natural guard anyways. What I notice about Jordan Morgan, though, Mike, is when he has a bad rep, he'll whiff. He'll whiff completely. It's not like, it's a little bit of a misstep here. Like, he'll just whiff on a guy, and it's really hard to put together a long surgical drive when your right guard can just straight up miss at any moment in time.
Yep. There's a consensus growing within the press box that covers the Packers that maybe Jordan Morgan is best suited. Your former first-round pick from last year, it's 6'5" and 311 as your future left tackle.
Yeah,
he's a pass protection guy on the outside. And this Belton kid, who you took this year out of North Carolina State, he weighs 25 pounds more than Jordan Morgan. He's up to 336 now.
Well, this is what's weird, Mike, is they drafted Belton, who's an ox, and they signed Banks, who's an ox. Very different from the types of players that they've typically drafted in the past. Leaner, more athletic, great movement skills. Jordan Morgan is nothing like Banks or Belton. He's built completely differently. So rotating those two types of bodies in at guard, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, and then after the game, LaFleur said, I love Belton, man. He's like a mauler out there, like, hello.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Anthony Belton, and I said, when did they have you replace Jordan Morgan at right guard against the Vikings?
Second series of the game. Yeah. First half was 2 series, I think. We was rotating each drive.
For you, it's opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Any moment I get a chance, to go out there on the field, I want to take advantage of every opportunity because you never know which one going to be your last opportunity. So, I just want to keep taking advantage of moments I get, just try to put good stuff on tape. So just keep stacking.
Mike, this offensive line just hasn't been good enough this year. And I don't think they're going to get dramatically better. I don't think they're all of a sudden going to turn into 2010 or 2014 when they had continuity and just studs everywhere. But if Belton can step in at right guard and improve a little, and now Sean Ryan settles into center, improves a little, like just a little improvement in a couple of spots, Banks just stays on the field more, they have an opportunity to settle in and be better. Maybe not be otherworldly, but be better. And with Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love playing well in this defense, that might just be enough.
Well, the other thing is this. It's clear that, the offensive line has been good, but it hasn't been great.
Yeah.
And if you're going to try and get to a damn Super Bowl like the Philadelphia Eagles, the offensive line has to be great. It has to be.
Yeah.
And you're not there. And what can you do to get there? And then you lost your veteran Elton Jenkins to a season-ending injury, a guy that's been here since 2019, that you made all these moves to move him to the center and all those other moves they've made. Now he's gone. Well, Sean Ryan, as I said a couple of weeks ago, I said, you guys going to be okay with Sean Ryan at center? And they said, Mike, he was our center all through training camp, remember?
Yeah.
Oh. So, like if you're Josh Jacobs and you're back there looking for the opening or the pre-snap, declarations of who's the Mike and where's the safety going to line up and all that, I think that they think that Sean Ryan could be the guy. That he's pretty smart and can pick that stuff up as opposed to the veteran Elton Jenkins necessarily. But he has to be the guy. So I told him about that conversation I had with LaFleur. That we played that on your show, right? Where I went back and forth with
Yeah, you answered his question for him. Why'd you do that, Mike? You got to put the screws to him. Make him answer that question.
Well, no. Actually, the question was, where does this come from?
Yep.
And he gave me the answer. It's something that happened 15 years ago when he was down there with Saleh at Houston with the Texans. Something that Kubiak came up with, and so it's all those things. So I talked to Sean Ryan about it. I said, it's November, man. You're playing NFC division foes. You've got to get this team now ready to get into the postseason. And why are you still rotating Jordan Morgan and then Anthony Belton off on your right-hand side of right guard in November in a game against the Vikings Sunday?
Rotating?
Yeah.
I think it allows both of them to really just play.
Yeah.
Because you're like, man, I could leave it all out there because he's going to get the next drive, so I got time to recover. So you could really go out there and really just get used to just playing hard and playing the game. So I think it's beneficial.
And matching the rotation on the defensive line because they keep those guys.
Correct. Exactly. And I understand why you can't rotate, O-linemen because you got to have that chemistry. But I think in certain instances with certain pieces, you can't.
I asked Matt about this a couple of weeks ago. He goes, Mike, why do you think so? I said, okay, player development.
Yes.
It keeps guys, heads in the game. It keeps them fresh like the defensive line. He says, right. He goes, that's why. I go, I know, but what about chemistry? He goes, he says it's something he did when Kubiak was the head coach down with the Texans 15 years ago.
There's, me and my pops always say, you're only crazy if you're, the first one to do it. So, I get it, but also it makes the defense. I mentioned this when I was rotating. It makes the defense play you a little bit different because now you got a different guy in there. So it's like, why?
Makes them think.
Exactly. And that's all we need is just that little extra couple seconds of thinking.
Interesting commentary from Sean Ryan. Mike Clemens is here, the Bay Motel in Green Bay. I guess it's just a matter of, balancing how much do you want guys to develop? How much do you want guys to be fresh? And how much do you value chemistry? And how much do you think that a rotation hurts chemistry? It's just striking that balance as a coach.
So I've been covering Packers, for like Bill's show about 20, 25 years. Every year, now the first couple of years I would go to Detroit, man, there were still scars there from the 60s and the riots there. And now every year for the last 10 or 15 years, there's something new. There's something fresh. The downtown Detroit has become revitalized. And now, since Dan Campbell took over as head coach, the fan bases, it's just flipped like a switch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard for Packer fans to get tickets there. And it's going to be packed with the Honolulu Blue Lions fans. And they are loud. And they got that place rocking now, just like U.S. Bank. It's this dome stadium. It's going to be a factor on Thanksgiving Day, man. This game, the stakes are there for the NFC North. And so talking to Jordan Love, and, here's this guy who I noticed during the Vikings game, he's just using his right hand to hand off. You don't do that. Usually, if Emmanuel Wilson or Josh Jacobs is coming off to run off a right guard, you use your left hand to hand him the ball. And if he goes to the left, then you use your right hand. You know how to properly hand off a football to a running back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him, about just using his right hand during the whole game and playing through the pain of a sprained AC joint, essentially a separated left shoulder against Minnesota.
It's one of those things where, I'm able to play through it. Obviously, anytime you take a hit, fall on it, you'll feel it. But nothing that is holding me back or nothing I can't play through.
How many games have you played where you just used one hand for your handoffs?
Not too many games. I think early on when, I had my thumb surgery, I was doing a lot with just right hand. And I think, I just kind of subconsciously started doing that in this game.
Did you guys have to practice that last week?
No.
On the right-hand side,
No.
Are you holding that backhanded when you do that?
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, handing off backhanded.
So how's it been working with Sean Ryan now the last couple of weeks? Now you go into a noisy Ford Field. That's got to be something that's on your mind, right?
Definitely. It's always a test, playing there. It's obviously a great environment, a very loud environment. So, we've been there before. We know what it's about. And like we said, communication's got to be on point and be another test for Sean. I think obviously last week with the different pressure looks
and different things, and just the communication. He did a good job with that and stuff to build on. But obviously another new test, being on the road, dealing with silent count, how we get in and out of the huddle, how we listen in the huddle and can hear the plays and just understand the plan. So we can go out there, play fast, and, have a clean operation is very important. So it'll be a good test.
So I'm up against it here, Mike. We got to get out of here pretty quick, but I know you spoke with Micah Parsons earlier today, and you texted me, as you have multiple times, throughout the season after talking to Micah, saying, yeah, that was gold. That was really, really good.
Yeah, he talked about, his life as a competitor and growing up, and, listeners should look forward to hearing that on your show or on Bill's show. But we just asked him today, hey, look, when you look at the NFC North standings right now, Bears in first place, then it's you guys and the Lions. How big is this match at the Lions? It's a pretty big game, right?
It is a big game. I think, over the last, couple weeks, we won some good games and we lost some good games. We have to find a way to win the good games again. We did it early in the season, but we got to find a way to do it Thursday.
From your experience, what's the most important thing a player has to do when you had 3 days to prepare for a big-time game like Thursday?
Recovery and mentality. Just understanding, get the gist. Like, you obviously don't get the full game plan week. You just try to squeeze it in. So you got to do more time on your own or have an understanding of how you're going to be attacked. So just more on the mental and just recovery.
Yeah, man, this is a huge game, Mike. If the Packers lose on Thursday, they got to go to Denver and win. They got to pick up a win down the road at some point this season. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, that Broncos defense is tough, but Micah Parsons, he's played every Thanksgiving in his NFL career so far, right?
Yeah, that's right.
4 years with the Cowboys, and now the Packers get picked to go up against the Lions. Why? Because it's had huge ratings the last time that these two teams have met in Detroit on Thanksgiving.
3 awesome Thanksgiving games. Thank you, Mike, for working hard, and have a great Thanksgiving. We'll talk soon.
Headed to Detroit, buddy. I'll have reports from Ford Field.
Appreciate it, Mike. Safe travels. Have a good one.
Thanks, Grant.
Mike Clemens, thank you, Mike. Courtesy of Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable. Make your reservation today. BayMotelGreenBay.com. Got to go because we need time for Jesse Temple. How about this? Back-to-back star guests. We'll talk about that win over Illinois and get ready for the Minnesota game coming up next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Jesse. Hey, Jesse. 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 Jesse.
Jesse Temple is here, Badger Connect, and of course you hear him on the camp with Zach. Big week for the camp, talking about a big win, and now getting ready for the Axe after Thanksgiving comes and goes, rivalry weekend. Jesse, I don't know if that's the best win that the Badgers have had under Luke Fickell. It's certainly the one that I think is the most significant this year and last year, and certainly the Badger game that I enjoyed most in a long time. Like, that's got to, like, how you felt watching it, the feeling that you got watching it, that's got to count for something, doesn't it?
Well, it's the most complete performance of the season, and probably longer than that. I know that they won some games handily a year ago, but it wasn't very good competition. Illinois went into that game with 7 wins, was ranked in the top 25 of the college football playoff rankings. So this is right up there. Now, it's hard for me to pick that win over the Washington win, largely because, in terms of significance, largely because we know where Wisconsin was at going into the Washington game. They'd lost 6 in a row. You had players saying afterward, I didn't know if I was ever going to win another game while wearing a Badgers uniform. But to stack another performance like that, be 2-1 in November, and play one good half at least against Indiana is showing some progress. And this is a season that's really all about generating some optimism for the fan base. And if they can pull it off in Minneapolis and go 3-1 in November, I think that's about as good as you can feel given where things were in October. I'm not suggesting this program is all fixed and it's fine. There's a heck of a long way to go, but at least they're playing better football right now.
No, if they do that and finish 3-1 down the stretch, that would have seemed impossible a month or two ago. So no, I think some optimism and some celebration, even though we have big picture questions about the program, I think it would be warranted. The reason that I like this win more than the Washington win was needed. It was a slump buster for sure. I just feel like the Washington game, there was some weather and they had a big special teams play. And I just felt like they showed up and lined up against Illinois on both sides of the ball. And this is what Luke Altmaier said after the game as well. They just kind of took it to their opponent. There wasn't anything fluky. There wasn't a call that went their way. They just kind of showed up and played better football in all phases against an opponent that was ranked in the top 25. I don't know how many times we've seen that from this program recently.
I think that's totally fair. You can look at what the defense did. They've carried this for the last several weeks. Luke Altmaier was running for his life. Wisconsin has magically found some formula here the last month defensively where they have 19 sacks over the last 4 games. They had 12 the first 7, and you're getting it from multiple players. Daryl Peterson had 3 sacks. He's the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. Obviously, we know that Cooper Catalano was the defensive player of the week, and Mason Post was a co-freshman of the week. So that's really impressive defensively. Offensively, there are still plenty of issues, but I think Jeff Grimes deserves a lot of credit. He's obviously been hamstrung with the limitations of this offense and all the injuries. You've got your fourth-string quarterback starting right now. All 4 of your scholarship running backs have been hurt. You've had multiple offensive line rotations, but I thought he called a really good game, and I thought that the players executed very well. And it doesn't hurt every once in a while to get an 84-yard run from Darian Dupree, because this team has been terrible at a lot of things offensively. Generating explosive plays is one of them. They're last in the country in plays generated of at least 20 yards. So that was a huge moment for Dupree and for this team.
And it's a mathematical part of football too, right? If you can get an 80-yard touchdown, that's 80 yards that you don't have to execute and navigate without turning the ball over, without a miss. So basically, when you get a free touch, it's like a free touchdown. You get 7 points, and you don't really have to face any of the risk or any of the possibilities of anything going wrong. It was a huge part of the game. 2 more things about this game, and I talked about both of these things last night, just points of significance for a win like this. I think it's really impressive that this win happened in late November. Like, if they would have pulled this win off in September after the Bama game, it would have been impressive. I think it has to say something about the coaching staff and their voice and their connection with these players that still obviously must be there to go through all these injuries. And in October, that was kind of a football stretch of hell, to still be able to get up and put together efforts like this when your season's kind of just dead on the floor. I think that's really, really impressive. Again, this game happening when it did instead of at the beginning of the year when maybe there was more promise. That's really impressive to me.
That's fair. It's all a matter of perspective, obviously. If Wisconsin beats Minnesota and goes 5-7, you look at that and say, they went 5-7 a year ago. They went 5-7 this year. Where's the improvement? Last year, they were 5-2, and they lost 5 in a row to close the season. And so there is something to be said for the fight and the pride that these guys are playing with. And certainly that was a talking point earlier in the season was, as Luke Fickell lost the team, are they tuning out his message? Yeah. Have they quit on this program or on this coaching staff? And some of it was injuries. Some of it was playing top tier competition. And maybe these guys didn't have the confidence to execute. I mean, there's so many things. They got outscored 116-17 in the month of October. But the fact that they're still here, still fighting, I think it is a point of pride for them. But I think the fans can at least look at that and say, we can take pride in that effort as well. Now you've got to take several more steps forward, which I know we're not there yet. But Luke Fickell didn't come here to go certainly 4-8 or even 5-7 in back-to-back years. So now you got to build on this if you can.
So one other thing that struck me about this win, the comments from Daryl Peterson after the game, Ricardo Hallman as well. They didn't get as much run, but I know Zach sent along some of that audio and posted some really good video. I just think it's really important right now for this program to have senior leaders who are making big plays and talking about how meaningful it is. Because I think that's something that college football has lost a little bit with players moving around as much as they are year to year. I just think that's really important to Wisconsin. The voice and the play of Daryl Peterson, to a lesser degree, Rico Hallman, some of those upperclassmen. And if they're able to build on that and win the Axe this weekend, I just think that will do so much for the program and the way it's perceived by fans and hopefully by recruits going into this offseason too.
We're in a very transient time in college athletics, and it doesn't feel like that's changing anytime soon. You get basically 40 new players on a roster every single season. This year, it might be a little smaller because Wisconsin's recruiting class isn't particularly large, but they're going to go heavy into the transfer portal at basically every single position. That's my expectation at this stage when we do get to January. So you have fewer and fewer of those stories, the Daryl Petersons, the Rico Hallmans. And there are several, I'll give Wisconsin players credit. There are several other guys like that. Aaron Witt is an example. And you can go on down the list. But like when you get to a week like this against Minnesota and there are young guys or there are transfer portal guys, they don't understand this rivalry. They really don't know anything about it. Luke Fickell can say they talked about it at various stages before the game. But I think having players who have been through the wars, who understand what it means, can impart that importance on these guys. And then they'll really understand it when they get into the rivalry. This is still what's special about college football. For all the changes, the fact that Paul Bunyan's axe still exists, and this rivalry, the most played rivalry in the FBS, is played in the last game of the regular season. It's great. And so hopefully that the team can take those messages and put together a better effort than they did last year.
That game was over in the first quarter at home against Minnesota last year. Certainly that's what it felt like at home. Like that's what I think a lot of fans saw. In talking with Luke Fickell to begin the week and seeing and you know, talking to the folks that you have a chance when you're covering the team throughout the week, let's just say, have you noticed anything that maybe these last 2 wins in these 3 weeks could get fans excited about for this weekend? Is there anything that you've observed or heard that maybe we should know about going into Minnesota?
I just look at it as hope and optimism. And like Zach and I were talking about this on our latest episode of the camp, feels like this is a game Wisconsin can get. And I didn't think a month ago that there was a single game you could say Wisconsin could get. Minnesota, we talked about the hashtag vibes here. Minnesota's lost 3 out of 4. Their one win came against a winless, at least in Big Ten play, winless Michigan State team in overtime. Meanwhile, Wisconsin has won 2 out of 3, seems to be trending in the right direction. And so that's why the spread is 1.5 points or whatever it is. This does feel like something Wisconsin can get. I don't know about how much a win in November can spring forward, give you all this momentum when you get to your next game that's not for like 8 months.
Yeah.
But as you close out a season, and it will take, I think, close to a miracle for Wisconsin to somehow be bowl eligible. You're going to need a whole bunch of teams to lose. So I'm not there. But I do think it will make people in the program feel better. People who are sticking around feel like when you work hard, good things can happen. And for the staff that's obviously been through a lot, they can feel the same way.
So I know you and Zach talked about this on the camp, but the last football thing, is there anything that fans really need to be aware of or know with their continued relationship with Under Armour? Or is that cosmetic? I guess, is there anything that we should really know and be aware of with that?
Well, obviously, Wisconsin had a 10-year deal with Under Armour that started in 2016 that was going to expire here in the next summer. And so they have found another arrangement. So they're going to continue this partnership. Basically, it goes for 7 more years to 2033, and then there's a mutual opt-out, but assuming that both parties stay in it, it will go for another 10 years. I think what's notable about this is it's an increase in money. So the previous deal was 10 years, $96.75 million. This is 10 years, $104.5 million. That may not sound like much, but given where things are in the apparel industry and where some of these other deals have gone, you can look at South Carolina and Kentucky, for example, which are now Nike schools. Those numbers are not as high as what Wisconsin has with Under Armour. Under Armour also dropped several schools. Under Armour stock this year has dropped like 46%. So this is a deal that I think is pretty good for Wisconsin. The other aspect is how it relates to NIL, because now the deal is structured in a way that Under Armour and the cash that Wisconsin receives can be funneled toward helping that above the cap NIL, which is obviously you have your $20.5 million in revenue sharing that the school can directly pay the athletes. They max out that number. You need additional NIL revenue, just like all these other schools do. So that didn't exist 10 years ago because there was no NIL. And now Wisconsin can take some of that money, somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 million in cash each year, and direct it in different ways. And obviously Wisconsin is trying a variety of ways to generate more money. But those are some of the notable things I think that are included in this arrangement.
It's very notable. I'm glad I asked. That's very good to know. You have a Badger Bite up this week or coming this week with Coach Mike Hastings. Badger hockey is up to number 2 in the country. Some really impressive conference wins over the last week. So what have you talked about? Is it out yet? So I checked your feed earlier today, and maybe it's out and I just didn't see it. But tell us about Badger hockey and what you have coming at Badger Connect.
So it's coming Wednesday morning. Every Badger Bite episode runs on Wednesday mornings.
We normally talk on Wednesdays. Okay, no, that's right. It's Tuesday today.
Yeah, we moved some things around this week with the holiday, which I appreciate. Right. This one is one of the cooler ones that we've done. I think some of the best stuff we do with these Badger Bites videos are the film breakdowns, because it takes you to a place that you can't otherwise go inside the mind of the person drawing up everything you're seeing within the sport. So I sat down with Mike Hastings. This is a 20-minute video, and he draws it up on the screen because he's got the touch screen so you can see everything they're trying to do. And he goes through, here's our plan. Here's what we were trying to do right here. Here's why it worked. And then also some situations where it's like, here's why this didn't work, but this is what we teach about stick-to-itiveness and not giving up. And so look how this guy makes this mistake, and then on the next play, X happens, something good for us. But you can see in totality over this 20-minute video, it helps explain why this Wisconsin men's hockey team has a chance to be so special. There are so many veterans that wanted to come back here after a totally disappointing year 2 under Mike Hastings, where they didn't go to the NCAA tournament. And as you said, Grant, now they're sitting here, the number 2 team in the country, fresh off a sweep of what was then number 1 Michigan State. They've beaten Michigan, which is now currently the number 1 team in the country. They've really played some great hockey of late as they go into a little break here. So if you're not a subscriber at Badger Connect, I certainly understand I'm biased, but would encourage you to do so for all the stuff we have going, including our weekly Badger Bites episodes, because this one's a good one.
Well, and I love your breakdown. You got a volleyball one and hockey, because we like watching these sports, but I don't know that a lot of us, if you're a hockey parent and you know the sport very well, then you understand. I know nothing, and I can watch the puck fly around and cheer for my team, but I learn a little something about a team that I like to watch. So Jesse, happy Thanksgiving. Now I feel a little bit better about being confused about when the Badger Bite is coming. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you for your time always.
You as well. Thanks, Grant.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Final segment of the hour. We got about 20 seconds here. Apologies, but we got in that great conversation with Jesse Temple, coming back after Zach's update. Reset the show with some of my Packers-Lions thoughts. I think this game is not a literal must-win, but bear with me. I think it's kind of almost, basically, maybe a must-win. So we'll talk about that on the other side and get to your phone calls finally at 608-321-1670.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are gearing up for their trip to Detroit on Thanksgiving. Going to be a rematch of Week 1 that saw the Packers come out on top 27-13. It's a game that sticks with Lions coach Dan Campbell.
We don't like losing to anybody, but, you open the year and we go out to their place and they gave it to us pretty good, and division opponent. And, you don't want to start that way. So You get another opportunity. It's one of the blessings of playing somebody in your division twice.
Packers come in a half game up on Detroit in the NFC North, with the Bears sitting a half game up on Green Bay at 8-3.
We're looking forward to it. It's a good team, and this division's good. When we said that, it's a good division, man. It's been good for a while, so this is good.
Injuries will play a factor on both sides of a short week. Kick on Thursday is at noon. Turning to the Badgers, they will head to Minnesota on Saturday to face the Gophers. Two teams come in feeling very different, as Wisconsin's won 2 of 3 with both wins over ranked teams, while Minnesota has lost 3 of 4 and gotten blown out in 2 of them. Gophers favored by 1.5. Kick on Saturday is at 2:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer. But did you know they also offer competitive home, auto, business, and life insurance? They make it convenient to bundle your insurance while saving you time and money. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs have lost 5 in a row after falling to the Trailblazers last night at Fiserv Forum. Has them at 8-10 on the year as they get ready to hit the road for a couple games starting tomorrow night in Miami. It's possible Giannis Antetokounmpo could return on the trip from a groin injury that has cost him the last few games. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
This is absolutely a must-win for the Lions. They haven't won 2 in a row now in 6 weeks. They've struggled against Philly to score, and this is after we make the big announcement that we're going to change coordinators. The head coach is going to call plays. They light it up against Washington, and then they fall back down to earth. So they struggled there. They struggled against the Giants. They lost to Green Bay at the start of the season. Didn't score very many points there either. They're 4-1 at home. They're currently 8th in the playoffs. Obviously a must-win for them.
It's obviously not a must-win for the Lions. It is, however, a must-win for the brain trust of the Green Bay Packers. A story that we discussed 3 weeks ago, and then thanks to a couple unimpressive wins against unimpressive teams, it's gone by the wayside, which is, wait, are Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst on the hot seat? If they lose this game, week 1, which is the high watermark of their season, feels like even more of an aberration. They then fall to that dreaded 8 seed, trying to just sneak their way into the postseason. And if this Packers team misses the playoffs, all the local reporting seems to imply, if not outright say, Matt LaFleur might not be back next year. So it's a must-win for Matt LaFleur and his boss, Brian Gutekunst.
We enjoyed today. Very short week against a very good Lions team. So, obviously the prep is got to get started today, and everybody's trying to get their bodies back, get back healthy as quickly as possible. But short weeks are always tough.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Some audio from First Things First this afternoon. Eric Mangini and Nick Wright. I really like Eric Mangini, by the way. It feels like there used to be a million Eric Manginis on sports television. Very pragmatic, almost boring in a good way. There's just not a lot of Eric Mangini. When Eric Mangini is eventually not on TV anymore, they will have created 1,000 Eric Mangini. I like him. He's kind of a fun change of pace on a talk show panel where everyone's like, it's a must-win game. And then another guy's like, it's not a must-win game. It's everyone's going to die if they don't win. And then Eric Mangini's the one guy's like, come on. I enjoy him on television. But he's talking about the Lions. The Lions got to win on Thursday. And then Nick Wright coming in saying, no, the Packers got to win. Must win. Just using that piece of audio as a springboard to establish the stakes and the importance of Thursday's game against the Lions, which a month or two ago, I wouldn't have considered it that big of a game. Because after all, the Packers won their home game against the Lions. And when you share a division with another elite team or two, it kind of starts with winning your home games, defending your home field. And then if you can steal the road game, great. But if you win your home games, you're never backed into a corner needing to sweep your opponent. Well, then the Packers lost to the Browns and the Panthers, and they tied the Cowboys. It's like, okay, well, now you got to go get one. You got to go get one or two in the last month and a half, whether that means going to Denver or Detroit or sweeping the Bears. You're going to have to overextend yourself a little bit in a way that maybe we didn't expect 2 months ago. So that's where we begin. hour number 2. I haven't taken a single phone call yet. So before we get to Bart Winkler, our friend at 535, to talk Packers, and a fellow shareholder, I have some shareholder things I want to discuss with him. Plenty of time for your calls. Now is the time, 608-321-1670. And if you want to follow up on anything that we discussed with Jesse Temple relating to the Badgers, that's on the table as well. Again, just to reiterate how important of a game this is, and not just that it's important because all division games are important. It's the NFL. Every game is important, right? You can put a million qualifiers, or you can downplay every game, you can upplay every game. That's just how the NFL schedule works. The Lions right now would be the team that I'd pick to win the division. I still think they're the best team, the most aggressive team. I think they have their thing figured out in a way that the Packers don't. And I think they're just better than the Bears, although we'll see. I think there's a chance that the Bears find another gear in the final month. I don't think that's a chance or a possibility that many are considering, but put the Bears to the side. I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC North. But looking back since October 12th, and this is what you heard Eric Mangini mention, they lost to the Chiefs, beat the Bucks, lost to the Vikings. Yeah, those Vikings. That J.J. McCarthy. Beat the Commanders. Lost to the Eagles, beat the Giants in overtime at home. They haven't really been able to reach cruising altitude in a way that they reached for about a month from mid-September to early October. This Lions team is gettable right now. And the Packers are going to need to extend themselves if they want to win the division, which is what it's going to take to win a home playoff game, which is what it's going to take, I think, for them to go on a playoff run. The Packers are going to have to extend themselves a little bit here. They're going to need to pick up a game that will not be easy, whether that's Detroit, whether that's Denver, or something that I think is also unlikely. Like, I would bet against the Packers sweeping the Bears right now. I think the likely outcome there is they split. So the Packers have to do one of two things, or one of three things, I suppose. You need to find a way to win in Denver, find a way to sweep the Bears, or find a way to win in Detroit. And I think the most likely win in those three outcomes is winning in Detroit with how the Lions have looked recently. And then if you win in Detroit, you get that mini bye before then hosting the Bears at home. You're in an awesome spot now, set up for the final month. All right, enough of my ramblings. To your calls, 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Really quick, Grant, this is Darnell with Jump.
Hey, Darnell.
Hey, with Chicago Bears, I feel like I need to see them in person. I feel really dumb, trying to say, oh, well, the Bears are a lucky team, or the Bears have a negative point differential, or, I don't want to do that and then watch the Bears play the Packers really tough at home. And you know what I mean?
You need to see them playing the Packers is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I need to see them play the Packers. I understand that they're able to beat the Vikings. Okay. Yes. The Vikings are not having their best year, right?
Not quite.
No. So I need to see them play the Packers. And I mean, in the NFL, more than any other sports league, you have to win your division games in order to be successful in the regular season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So watching them play the Packers and then just kind of seeing where we're all at, probably 2 weeks into December, I think things are going to be a lot more clear rather than more muddy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think this is the last week between the Lions and the Bears where we're going to be able to speculate, where we're going to say, well, the Packers could do this, or if they figure this out, we're going to know one way or another after these two games, at Detroit and at home against the Bears. Because if you got to beat the Bears at home, and I think this Lions game is really sneaky important. It shouldn't be. If they had just beaten the Browns and the Panthers, then this game has a lot less stress on it, but it's the place they find themselves.
I mean, and even if they beat the Panthers, right? Even if they're able to take the win against the Cowboys instead of a tie, I just think that if you're playing in the NFC North, which everyone's saying is a very, very tough division this year, and I mean the records have shown it so far, you need to win your division games to be taken seriously, right? So if they beat the Panthers and they beat the Cowboys and they beat the Browns, great. If you lose your division games, you're just going to look like you did last year. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because last year is the opposite of this, where they did win their out of division games for the most part, right? And then they crap the bed in the division, and everyone's like, yeah, they're frauds going to the playoffs. So you got to get the division games. I think that's the real tell in the NFL here, unless you're just in a dog crap division.
So I agree. But then you're probably winning your division games anyway, Darnell, if you're a good team. I appreciate it. Here's the thing on the division games, okay? If the Packers had beaten the Panthers and the Browns and all things were kind of on balance the way they should be, 4-2 in the division gets it done. You sweep the Vikings, you win the home game against the Lions, the home game against the Bears, you drop the game at Soldier Field, you drop the game at Ford Field, you go 4-2 in the division, you win the division because you took care of those bad teams. 4-2 is not a bad divisional record if your division's good. And I think the Packers division is good. You split with the good teams. You try to sweep the worst team. That would be the Vikings. I think they have a great shot to do that. The problem is because you lose to the Browns and the Panthers, I don't know that 4-2 is going to do it. You probably need to go 5-1 or really nuts, go 6-0. 4-2 should have been plenty in the division. But because you lose some games to crappy teams, one of them at home, the Browns, where you had a late lead, just make a field goal. Ugh. Like 4-2 is not a bad division record, Darnell. What I'm saying is like, well, you shouldn't have to beat the Lions on the road. You shouldn't have to sweep the Bears. I'm not talking about the Packers, going 3-3 or 2-4 in the division and getting away with it simply because they beat the Browns. I'm talking about a year where 4-2 should have been enough. And I'm not sure that it is right now. Unless you can go to Denver and win, which again is tricky. My overarching point, and it's something that I've tried to articulate between this week and last, the Packers are going to have to extend themselves and win some improbable games in a way they wouldn't have had they just taken care of business earlier in the year. 4-2 in the division should have been fine. And I don't think it's going to be. I think you need to do, probably 5-1. You might need to find a way to win in Detroit or sweep the Bears, either one. Shouldn't have had to be that way. But them's the breaks. That's where we find ourselves. 608-321-1670. Let's take another call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louie in Eau Claire.
Hey, what's going on, Louie?
Hey, Grant. So the way I see it here, there's going to be one team from the NFC South, one team from the NFC East, and that leaves the Rams, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Packers, the Bears, and the Lions vying for 5 spots. One of those teams is getting left out.
Correct.
I wholeheartedly agree that this is the most important game remaining on the Packers schedule on Thursday, because if you box in the Lions and have them beat with both the win total and on the tiebreaker,
head-to-head,
make it really hard on Detroit. If you lose, I don't know among those groups if the Lions win, and let's say I don't know if 10 wins is going to be enough. 11 might need to do it, and then you're looking at that's pretty dicey.
It is dicey. And Louie, I was just able to make out what you were saying. Your connection sucks, so I'm going to let you go. Another thing to consider with Detroit, if you land this blow to Detroit and you send them to, what are they now? I have all this in front of me because I don't remember numbers. You guys know this. I don't remember records. I don't remember stats. Hey, what's Jordan Love's touchdown intercept? I have zero idea how many touchdowns and yards Jordan Love has thrown for off the top of my head. The Lions are 7-4. You can send them to 7-5 on Thanksgiving. And then you know who they have next? They host Dallas and then go to LA. So you could put the Lions in a horrible spot if you beat them on Thursday. Now, the inverse of that is the Lions can kind of do the same thing to you. Now, you have one fewer loss, so it's going to hurt you a little bit less because of that tie, I guess. But yeah, Louis is absolutely correct. And that there's probably going to be one or two teams that are left out. Now, if the Niners are left out of the playoffs, I'm going to feel like, yep, that's with their injuries. That probably makes sense. It feels like any of the Packers, Lions, or Bears at this moment in time getting left out of the playoffs would be a failure on one of those teams' part. Like if the Lions miss the playoffs, that's a catastrophe. If the Packers miss the playoffs, catastrophe. If the Bears were to miss the playoffs, considering they're 8-3 on November 25th, I think it would be close to a catastrophe, but that's not a team that had as high of expectations as the other teams. So yes, a meltdown and a huge missed opportunity, but I don't know if it's a catastrophe on the same level that it would be with the Packers. It's not a catastrophe for San Francisco. They've done an awesome job just to get where they are. I mean, they're one fewer loss than the Seahawks. That's crazy to me. A huge hat tip to Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Yellow. All right. Good call. Appreciate it. A little harsh. I do appreciate it. I'm looking at point differentials here. I'm curious. The Bears still have a negative point differential. The Packers plus 61, the Lions plus 83. The entire NFC South has a negative point differential. That's pretty crazy. The NFC West, man, the NFC is a good friggin' conference right now. There's two teams that I think can win a Super Bowl, the Rams and the Seahawks. The Niners, look, are you going to feel good about playing the Niners in a playoff game, Packers fans? If you have to line up and play this Niners team, albeit banged to hell, like, you feel good about that? No, of course not. I think the Cowboys are a real team. I think they're maybe a year away and a couple of young players away, but they're a real team. The Eagles are a real team. The NFC is going to have a couple of very good teams. A good team or two miss the playoffs. I don't know if the same can be said about the AFC. Let's try this again. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Must win has to be on Mount Rushmore of sports talk radio topic.
I agree, Vagabond John. Yeah, it's just like, oh, what should we talk about today? Oh, the game coming up. Is this a must win? But you get, it's not literally a must win. I'm just saying, man, the difference between a win and a loss is pretty significant, and the Lions are beatable right now, man. They haven't really been able to lock it in for any extended stretch over the last 2 months or so.
I agree. I had these take going into the season, still have this take. I don't think any team in the NFC North should be favored currently to get to the NFC Championship game, same as last year. We just don't have the AFC South on the schedule. So we all look a little bit more real this year. What I'm looking for this Packer game, I want to see some individuals that just haven't shown up this year show up. It's Thanksgiving. Rashawn Gary, it's time to get away from the quick trip hot bar, right? Start, make a splash, do something. Van Ness, let's get out there. One of these receivers pop off. Maybe we see Golden do something. So I don't really think it's a must win for either team. I think both teams, if they lose this game, still have a realistic shot at the playoffs. But I would love to see for the Packers some of this young talent. But Grant, the real topic this week is hate week. It's rivalry week.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 1 week that reminds us what's good about college sports in general. And I just want to call out that it is damn suspicious that every time there is a major military draft in the United States, the Gopher football program really starts to excel. Doesn't matter, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, you look at those combined years, and they're like 13-3 against Wisconsin in the years immediately following draft years. So I'm just raising it. I'm just showing out the data points. I don't know if there's more to this. Insert ESPN guy meme with the two fingers. I don't know what's going on here. But if Windhorse was interested in drafts, this might be something to look into. That's all I got.
Bunch of draft dodgers up there in the Twin Cities is what it sounds like. Like that. Now that is an interesting point. I think the Badgers can go get the axe back. Like I'm excited to watch this game on Saturday, which floors me. I thought it would be years before I was ever excited to watch a Badger football game again, a month or two ago. But they've really put themselves in a spot now. Excuse me. Any of the texts coming in, I neglect the text line. I'm sorry. Luke on the dirt road says, caught part of your interview regarding UW and Under Armour. If those numbers are correct, this can't be the best deal out there. Adjusted for inflation, it pays out less than the previous one from 2016. I don't know. I thought Jesse gave a nice breakdown of what it means. I can add absolutely nothing. I don't know anything about the previous deal. I just think Nike and other brands look cooler. But that's why I'm a radio host and not an important executive in the athletic department. Todd and Holman, we want to know thoughts on our defense this year. I'd argue they are elite. Other than the Dallas debacle, points allowed on average per game has to be tops in the league. I think it is. Or pert near. Houston might be one. Bill was talking about this earlier. Yeah, I think that's the driving force of the team right now. The problem has been, and I discussed this last night, is the offense hasn't been good enough early enough to put the opposition in a hole where the defense can really rush the passer. Because they got to deal with a team that's just content to, run for 3.5 yards a pop on first down. And then Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary and that pass rush is neutralized a little bit. Bobby in Menominee says, talk about Detroit revitalized. I went on a mission trip to Detroit in 2015 and barely saw anyone in Lions gear. The other yearly mission trips typically went to hurricane areas. Interesting factoid. Matt makes a good point on the live stream. I want to share this with Bart coming up at 5:35 because this seems like something that he would sink his teeth into. Excellent point about the importance of division games in the NFL. The Lions' guaranteed short week home game is also usually versus the all-important divisional opponent. You were commenting about this on Bill's show earlier today. This is a little bit of an advantage for the Lions. They get to welcome in a division opponent, usually a division opponent, Bears, Vikings, Lions. It's been the last couple of years. You come to our building on the short week, and then we'll take a 10-day rest in the last month of the season, or the second to last month of the season. An interesting point. Thank you, Matt. Bart Winkler will be here 5:35. More of your calls and thoughts on the other side of this break. In the meantime, whether it's Badgers or Packers related, be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Continuing on, Bart Winkler going to be here in about 12 minutes. We'll talk Packers. We'll talk the joys and occasionally the responsibilities of being a Packers shareholder. And we'll, get ready for Thanksgiving as well. Maybe do some of the classic sports radio Thanksgiving topics. What are you sports thankful for? Or what are the 5 items that just have to be on your Thanksgiving Day plate? Green bean casserole, obviously. All that stuff. Bart Winkler, good friend. Wisconsin radio veteran, coming up in just a bit. Jim in Cottage Grove says, all I have to say is if you look at the stats, I think Jordan Love plays better in a dome than he does in the weather, and I don't think that's going to affect anything. I don't know that there's any quarterback that statistically would play better out in the cold and in the wind. You know what I mean? Find me a quarterback in NFL history where it's like, hey, in a dome, he was pretty crappy, but you get him out in the snow and he would sling it. I think the idea is you want a quarterback whose performance doesn't go in the tank when they're outside, like Jared Goff, you know what I mean? Or Kyler Murray. Like Josh Allen is better in a dome. He's a laser show. Patrick Mahomes in a dome is a laser show. The thing is with those guys, when you put them outside, they still have the arm talent and the strength and the physical gifts and the size to still play quarterback. Jordan Love, much of the same. Just big, tall, thick, a lot of arm power to drive the ball in the elements. Doesn't mean the stats are going to be better in the elements. It just means that their performance isn't going to fall off. I think in the past, the Packers have been built like a dome team. I think Jordan Love's first playoff team 2 years ago, I think that team was better in a dome. Better, I think late Aaron Rodgers teams were better in a dome. This team might be positioned, famous last words, I've thought this before. This team might be a little bit better positioned to play in the elements because of the pass rush, right? Very similar to like the 2011 Giants, where it's just, hey, we got a bunch of dudes on the defensive line. We'll get a lead and we'll kick your ass. That plays in the cold. That plays in the elements. I think they need to find a way to run the ball a little bit more consistently. I know they did it okay against the Vikings. You listen to Matt LaFleur's press conference, like, man, I just kept calling it because it kept working. Like, you would have thought that he was talking about the 2011 Big Ten championship game where it was like 15-yard carry, 22-yard carry, 80-yard carry. Like, it was working fine. It was working pretty good. And I don't have the numbers in front of me here. It felt like they were averaging about 3 yards a carry with Emmanuel Wilson. Maybe that's way out. Yeah, 3.8 yards. So you listen to Matt LaFleur talk about the game on Sunday. It's like, we just ran it all over him. Well, yeah. I mean, Emmanuel Wilson ran for 107 yards, but he had 28 freaking carries. Like, it worked well enough to win that game with the way your defense was playing. They're going to have to be able to run the ball a little bit better than that to win a playoff game behind their pass rush and their defense and their running game. A little bit. And I think part of that is Sean Rhyan settling in at center, Anthony Belton settling in at right guard. I'm almost happy that they've made some changes on the O-line. I didn't want Elton Jenkins to have to get hurt in the process, but like the fact that Sean Rhyan is new at center and Anthony Belton could be new at right guard, that tells me it's like, okay, well, there could be, opportunities for improvement. There could be room for growth over the next couple of weeks in a way that there wouldn't be if you're just continuing to run Jordan Morgan out there. Man, how good does Jordan Morgan have it, by the way? How good does Jordan Morgan have it? First round pick, comes in, not really expected to play, gets hurt as a rookie. Rotated at right guard in year number 2. Mostly sucks at it and whiffs a ton. He's basically benched for Anthony Belton. And what's the conversation coming away from the benching? Well, he's probably your left tackle of the future. It's like, oh, okay. All right, sure. Maybe. But what a hilarious career trajectory. Missed most of your rookie season, injured. Completely and totally fail in your limited role in your second year, and then be benched, and everyone says, well, he'll probably just be the most important guy on the O-line next year. What a great work if you can get it. And I'm not trying to pick on Jordan Morgan. Of course he profiles better at tackle. Look at him. I could have told you that. Obviously, Belton's a guard. He's built like a muskox. I still am not really sure if the Packers know entirely what they want on the O-line. They got a lot of big boys because I think they want to run the ball vertically better than they've been able to. But then why'd you draft Jordan Morgan? He's Jason Spriggs, or built that way. There have been a weird amount of Jason Spriggs references the last couple of months. Not like dozens, but 2 or 3. And that's more than there should be, more than there needs to be. Another text here from Coach Freed. It says, Coach Freed here, I told you so. Together, everyone achieves more. Camp Randall Saturday was rocking. Freed stormed the field, and Fickle has his swagger back. I love you, Coach. Thanks for the text. I kind of think they're going to beat Minnesota this weekend. Minnesota's reeling. They've really been struggling down the stretch. I think Wisconsin's got mojo. And as I talked about with Jesse, hearing Daryl Peterson talk about what the program means to him, the pride in some of these games, like they've lacked that. Last year it was just Hunter Waller bitching everyone out, and I'm not faulting him for it, but like last year, anytime you heard seniors or upperclassmen talk about the program and what it means to him, it was like, this ain't good enough. It's not up to the standard. Which, again, I'm not mocking because they're right. This year, in order for Daryl Peterson and Rico Holman to actually make some plays in a big win and talk about how much the program means in a win, I haven't really had that. It kind of feels like things are culminating and trending a little bit. And if they're able to beat the Gophers on Saturday, man, like, considering where we were 2 months ago in October, last month, I didn't think they were going to win another game. And now you're telling me they could beat Washington at home, could beat Illinois at home, and now they could get the axe back. It's kind of feeling that way. Not a bad place to be at all, considering where we were in the month of October. What were they outscored? 117-16 or 116-17? Something like this. I mean, it looked like the program was a crater. Then McIntosh comes out, everybody loses their mind, and I don't know, not a bad couple of weeks. And it won't be ruined if they lose to the Gophers, but it'll feel like a huge missed opportunity. Bart Winkler going to join us next to talk about the responsibilities and stresses of Packer ownership, including the jealousy of those who will never know what it feels like to be an NFL owner, and I feel bad for him. I really do. Of course, we'll also get ready for the Thanksgiving game as well. Friend of show, Packers shareholder, into the Winklerverse host, Bart Winkler, going to join us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Like, I really hate to lose. Like, there was a time I was playing game night with my girl, and she went against me, and I lost, and I didn't speak to her for about 2 days. You know what I mean? So, like,
Saw that cut making the rounds today. Mike Clemens, nice enough to send over some Micah Parsons audio. We'll get to more of that tomorrow on Bill's show. Jordan Love, Micah Parsons, Matt LaFleur speaking within the last hour, the coordinators. So we'll have all the latest from Green Bay. Now, I don't get to Green Bay often, but when I do, it's always it's a work trip for me because I'm a Packers owner. I'm a Packers shareholder. And I've been fighting a little bit of a battle online with people who keep telling me that it's not really real. It's not really a real ownership thing, which frustrates me. And I know someone who also goes through this. It's our friend Bart Winkler, the Infinity Sports Network, the Into the Winklerverse podcast, which I recorded earlier today with him and Paul Emick. Very fun, good episode. Bart, this is something that you've had to talk about and deal with for a long time. You're a Packers shareholder. Not everybody likes it. It's toxic.
Well, it's jealousy, Grant. People are jealous of what we have, and we didn't do anything special to get this. We were born into it, a lot of us. And then when the opportunity presented itself that our team was once again selling shares, we decided we wanted to be bigger than just a fan. And I think that to take the next step in our fandom, it's like when you're married, let's say that seems to be the ultimate step for a relationship. But what if you could take another step? What if you could cement your love eternally? What if you knew that for the low price of maybe $250 or $300, depending on when the timing was, that you could guarantee that you would be together in eternity? I know it's stuff a lot of people say, and your loved one dies and you're like, I'll see you up there, man. You don't know that. But this guarantees eternal connection, because as long as you have that piece of paper, you will forever be an owner, and the Green Bay Packers are unable to leave the wonderful village of Ashwaubenon.
I just wonder how many people who are sports fans on the internet are morons, and I am an idiot, but I always like doing this. Anytime someone throws a dart at Packers fans on the internet, it's always fun to say, hey, I'm not a fan, I'm an owner. It's like, screw, you know what I mean? It's just a funny, witty comeback. And I'm reading some of these replies. It has over 94 novel replies. This guy says, LOL, you pushed send. Oh my God, you're joking, right? There's no way you believe that. Like, you guys, are you idiots? Like, do you really feel like you need to tell me that it's not like owning a stock on the stock exchange? I don't get it. I think people are stupid.
Two possible situations. I think both can be true. One, I think dead internet theory is very strong. There's a lot of the internet which is not real, and it does trip me up. I try to continue on doing things like this and hosting shows and having a show and doing it for employment. And I'm doing it to what I can only assume tonight on 150 stations, what I can only assume will be billions of people. I still will pause that if one little tweet came my way. Now the whole audience, it's their problem. One little tweet that came my way, and I am trying to grow. But I do think that a lot of what I see is bots, algorithms. I say that because the two things I've been getting the most as of late is clown emoji. Not even clown, just clown emoji. And then I talked about how, hey, it doesn't snow as much and as heavy as it used to when I was a kid.
Oh, it's so different.
And there was one word that people kept calling me. One word. not dork, nerd, lib, not any of this stuff. The R word.
Oh,
the R word. Over and over and over from many different, like, there's no way this just became the word of the day. So I think that could all be traced to the internet is fake
Mm-hmm.
and we're falling for it. The problem with that, which goes back to what you were saying, is that the level of human intelligence from most of which we correspond with has become indistinguishable from bot activity. Like, it could be a bot, but also people are this, I don't want to say dumb. Think of your mind like, oh, how do I put this? Think of your mind like a highway, okay? And when you're born, you're just trying to put food to mouth and goo goo in a gaga. Your mind is one lane. That's all it is. As you get older, your information and knowledge starts to expand, and more lanes then begin to be built. Now, you may think, God, this is a lot of activities, a lot of information. And I always say, well, another lane will fix it. So I keep trying to, my brain is like a 100-lane highway. There's a lot of different things I understand, a lot of different nuance. I can go over here to over here. I can go over here to over here. And I have room for other people because we've expanded. There's plenty of real estate, plenty of pavement. I think a lot of people operate in a one-lane brain where they just can't comprehend. If you say to them, I'm a Packer owner, automatically they think own, money, rich, transactional. It's the only way to be. Like, if you say I own a piece of paper that is a stock, they think stock market, dividend. It's the only way. They cannot, or even worse, choose not to value what you get out of ownership if it is not purely monetary exchange for some sort of goods or service. We don't own the Packers because we look for $15 every February or after Q3 and Q4.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the quest of our ownership. We own into this team for many reasons. One, we know they're never going to leave, and we know we don't have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Two, we have a love for our team. Like I said, we are in a marriage. We want to take it to the next step. We found an avenue for that. Sometimes you love so hard that you can't measure it. For Packer fans like us, we actually can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the third point, is that we can lord this over other fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also, because there are Packer fans that are listening and that you interact with that are not owners, and they'll defend us and say, yeah, it's a cool thing. It's happened because of the 19 whatever. But it just grates at them that they also don't have a piece of paper, some hung up, mine somewhere in one of these drawers. I don't even know, but I know it's there. And it doesn't really matter if that piece of paper ever got burned or ever got shredded or ever got torn up, because the piece of paper lives within us. And that sometimes, just because, can you buy air? Can you buy land? Can you buy into a Packer team? We thought it was impossible, but it chooses and turns out to be so. And so to have that, it's just something that I don't think people's brains are capable of comprehending. And then I do think that there's others that they can comprehend it. They choose not to, for the shame of not being able to call themselves a Green Bay Packers shareholder.
What address is on your stock? Is it the one you currently reside with your family, or is it some previous house that deep down you kind of still wish you lived there and kind of still wish your life was in the place it was when you lived there?
Are we off the air for a sec? Can you just unplug?
Sure. Yeah.
My wife bought the stock as a Christmas present. I actually think it's in her name. So I might not even be an owner.
Well, what's hers is yours. That's the way that marriage works, right? That makes it more
He
meaningful.
bought it when we were like just dating, and I'm like, well, now I got to put a ring on it.
Yeah.
Get this piece of paper. I think it's her old house. She used to live in Allouay.
Allouay?
Outside of Green Bay.
I thought it was Alouez. Is it? It's pronounced Allouay?
Allouay, yeah.
They really do some wild stuff up there. Bart Winkler is here. The Into the Winklerverse podcast. I was on an episode. I thought it was a good episode that we did with Paul. I'm excited.
It's just posted.
I'm excited for people to hear it. I feel like the Packers sneaky got a win on Thursday. Like I think this is like the Lions have been kind of teetering. I'm not confident that the Packers can sweep the Bears, and I'm not confident that they can go to Denver and win. So like at some point you gotta get one of these, and I think the most gettable one is Detroit.
Well, one thing that I've been doing on my show,
one of many great segments and bits.
Thank you. But one thing that I've been doing is I've been playing around a lot with there's others out there, but I happen to get the link from The Athletic. So I talk about theirs. They have a playoff simulator. And it's really come in handy. I'm trying not to use it too much as a crutch because it's visual and I'm looking at it and I'm also trying to describe it to other people. So I'm trying not to use it as a crutch because I know I might be throwing too much information on it, people. Also, the show's coming to an end and I don't really care. So the Packers, the way that I've done it, I think they can lose one more game.
Yeah.
They can lose one more game.
And what?
It doesn't really matter which game it is, but they can lose one more game and they are in the playoffs.
Okay.
So they can lose one more game.
I would still like for them to win the division. I'm not going to lie.
If you lose two more games, you'll still probably be in. The division's still not even entirely out either.
So you're illustrating what I'm saying. Like they can't because of the Browns and the Panthers games. Like now you have to sweep Chicago or you have to go to Detroit and win or you have to go to Denver. I don't think they can do all three of those things. And the most likely, the most gettable situation, I guess, that I just described is winning in Detroit.
Yeah, anytime for mulligans. I mean, they've used their breakfast balls.
Yes.
You know, they're on the turn now, and they used it on a shot that actually was playable, but it was early, and you want to impress your friends on the first drive, so they it was a little better shot, but they still used it. Once you're like, oh, I kind of like that analogy. I'm like, I'm gonna keep going, man. Here I come. I'm marching through. That's all the rest of my hit. I'll take you to the end of the show. So that's what's happened. But also, they shouldn't I'm having a hard time. Again, back to one lane Packer fans. Don't we want more from this team?
I want them to win the division.
Okay. I don't know that every Packer fan does. Now, every Packer fan might say they do, but you're not rooting for them to do it because you, not you, the proverbial you, keep moving the goalpost and keep lowering expectations. When I'm griping about things, Matt LaFleur, when I'm griping earlier in the season, oh, Bart, they're the number 1 seed. Relax. Okay. Then they're not. Then they're 5-2-1. They're 5-2-1. Relax. Then they lose. They're still a playoff team. Relax. They keep moving the goalpost. And this is something that I go back to. And you and I, as owners,
correct,
we should be the ones doing this. But unfortunately, it's other people.
If anyone should be shilling, it's us.
It should be us. It's part of something in our portfolio. The Packers are not just a team to us. I hand over to my financial advisor, taxact.com, and I say, this is my portfolio. I own the Packers. I collect no dividends. So it's something I own that I don't even have to pay taxes on.
I was going to say it's not taxed. I was going to make the
tax-free. I get to own an NFL team. Tax-free. I get to know what it's like to live in part of the 1%.
Something I want to throw at you before we're done.
But when people are making excuses for the Packers, whatever.
I'll cowherd this. Let me throw something at you here to close.
Yeah.
Listener Matt commented this early. He commented this during Bill's show too. This is like a weird thing that you would get upset about. He's talking about the importance of division games. He says the Lions' guaranteed short week home game is usually versus an all-important divisional opponent. Is there something to this that the Lions have an unnatural or unfair advantage because they always force a divisional opponent on a short week to come to their place and then they get 10 days off late in the season? Is there something to this?
Is that true? It's not always an NFC North opponent.
It usually is, though. Doesn't feel like it. It's been the Packers, the Lions, Packers, Bears.
Did anybody double check or look it up?
Well, you just talked about an information highway for 4 minutes, and now you want me to go look at the.
Do you know which teams never played on Thanksgiving?
Which team's that?
The Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, they're a baseball.
Jacksonville.
Oh, really?
Never play on Thanksgiving. Yeah, but then look, I guess, but a lot of times the Lions sucked.
That's true.
I am so the only reason I'm happy the Lions are good is that is one conversation that people in these jobs that are less qualified than us can't cherry pick. And that's
nice.
I got to say here, and sorry, I know it's tradition. And I know the Lions are one of the teams that stepped up back in the past. But do we really need to see Dan Orlovsky or Tim Boyle? This is Thanksgiving, America's Day, and we're all at home. It's a guaranteed watch, and I got to watch a 2-8 Lions team every single year. Could you flex it out, baby?
I knew that's where you're going with that. I forgot about that topic. We have been spared from that. Bart, I'm sports thankful for you. Are you traveling for Thanksgiving? Are you staying in the greater Milwaukee area?
I can't possibly bear to answer that question after drop off and kid pickup today, where I've answered that question 7 different times.
I mean, you could have answered it in half the time you just took.
I gave 7 different answers.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, just down to Kenosha. It's not that far. Could be worse. Oh yeah, we're going up to Eau Claire. Roads might be a little treacherous, but it's the holidays and it's family. Oh, we're just staying home this year. We're actually hosting. Yeah, we haven't done that yet. Really looking forward to it. Oh, we just go up to Mequon. It's like the kids have video games and we don't have them here, and it's really fun.
You're such a prick.
Well, what's it matter? They don't care.
You're right. It made me laugh.
Where are you going for Thanksgiving? To my family's house. Does it matter where they are on the map?
Well, I would have liked to look at the map and maybe plotted out your driving.
If you're asking where I'm going to be on Thanksgiving, I'm going to be on the Bart Winkler Show YouTube page after Packers Lions, bringing you a new episode of Into the Winklerverse.
Coming at us live?
Coming at you live on a Thursday.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Bart. Genuinely. Safe travels, or have a good Thanksgiving at your comfortable home. In Milwaukee. It's not in a suburb. Don't tell him he's in a suburb. He'll get angry. Sports thankful for you, my friend. Appreciate your time.
You can send mail to my house with a Milwaukee address. I will get it.
Have a good one.
Merry Christmas. Are we saying that again?
No, it's Thanksgiving. I'm kicking him out. Goodbye. Thank you, Bart. Happy holidays. 3-minute break. We'll wrap things up next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Final segment. We're going to get a quick call in here. Bart Winkler, appreciate his time. We're just going up to Mequon. The kids have video games. Goose Eggs on the live stream says, guarantee he's never said we're taking a trip up to Lone Rock. Yeah, well, we alternate Thanksgiving and Christmas. We do Thanksgiving in Lone Rock. We do Christmas in Arena. That way no one ever has to drive too far. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's us? We got about 90 seconds.
Denny from Holman.
Good evening, Denny. What's up? Got to be fast.
Okay, here it is. Don't beat yourself. Keep the pressure on Goff. Make Goff beat you. Because if you keep pressure on him, he's going to throw something up at you.
I think so. You got to get him behind early, get Goff a little frazzled. That's what happened 2 years ago. You score early, and then you get him all rattled.
Right. I remember years ago, hey, when Barry Sanders, we held him to 44 yards.
How about that? 40? I don't remember that
Yep.
game. Well, I wouldn't have.
I'm old, remember, so.
Oh, Denny, you're not old. You're just wise. Well, if I don't talk to you tomorrow, Denny, have a great Thanksgiving.
You too, and I'll call you tomorrow. But like I said, I really feel like you do. It's a winnable game. They just can't beat themselves.
It's gettable. Yeah, if you have an early turnover and you fall behind, well, then Detroit can just run Gibbs down your throat, and it's gonna be like a couple of these other games that we've seen this year. Appreciate you waiting, Denny, through Bart's unbelievable appearance. How lucky are we to have Bart? He is right, by the way, about that Lions topic. That's not something I'd considered. I mean, at what point? I know it's tradition, but we got to get another team in. Remember that? We used to do that every year. That's a very good point. Bart's had a couple today. I think he must have got a good night. Maybe he's drunk. I don't know. New episode of Into the Winklerverse is out. I did it with him and Paul. I thought it was a banger. I might even listen back to a part or two of it. It was pretty fun. Anyways, talk to the rest of you tomorrow. One more show before we're off for a couple days for Thanksgiving. Sports thankful for you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Talk to you tomorrow at 4.